Yankees push a game 5. Will they push a game 6? Welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich. Joining me is our fabulous producer, Wayne Ridenauer in Memphis, Tennessee. And you can catch us all on social media at ATL Prime Sports for Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, Apple and Spotify. Personal X's at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWY Jr. for Wayne, at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder, who is out supervising umpires this evening, and at LG for real, though, for Larry Gardner, who is out doing what he does best, being the PA voice of the Adairsville Tigers JV game. They were up by 3 in a tight one in the fourth quarter. Wayne, how you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing pretty well. We're getting started for the regular basketball season after losing 2 of our exhibition games, one against North Carolina and another against Alabama. But we play Missouri this Monday down at the FedEx Forum. It's the opening game of the season, and I will be there. So expect pictures on Twitter and all kinds of stuff.
We always look forward to seeing you in FedEx Forum and those Tiger pom-pom girls and everything. We look forward to it. I'm doing well, getting ready for the SIAC Game of the Week. Jamie Walker on the play-by-play, myself on the color. Central State travels to Allen at 2 p.m. on Saturday on, again, ESPN+. Both teams are looking for their second win of the season. Allen is looking for that first conference win of the season. Should be an exciting matchup. 2 quarterbacks that really like to run all over the place. And the SIAC Game of the Week should be pretty entertaining. What's on tap for the Dave Cohen Report, and we will preview and pick 6 of the best football games in our Pick 6, and that's about it. Short and sweet lately. We'll get back to it. My college football season will end this Saturday, so I'll be able to kind of jump back into the podcast more for you listeners. Without further ado, we'll talk to Dave Cohen. A 33-26 loss on the road to App State. Dave drops the Panthers to 2-5 on the season, and unfortunately 0-11 versus the Mountaineers. Voice of the Georgia State Panthers, again, Dave Cohen joins us for the Dave Cohen Report. Dave, thanks for coming on. How are you this evening?
Well, other than hearing that score yet again and being 0-11 against Appalachian State, we did not get off the mountain with a W, but other than that, pretty good. Getting ready to go back on the road, University of Connecticut up in East Hartford on Friday night on the radio network. And then Georgia State basketball is right around the corner as well. They open up on the 4th against Ball State and the Sun Belt MAC Challenge. So got a lot going on down on the Georgia State campus with regards to athletics.
Yeah, Dave, you're a busy man. Wish you had 2 of you to go in separate directions, I'm sure. But first, we'll start with the general Sun Belt question. Really top heavy, or I should say lots of teams vying for that top position in each division. It's looking like they were the smart ones because the divisions are helping the Sun Belt, and the divisions are kind of hurting the big boys in the SEC, where you have all these tiebreakers that might come into play because they don't play each other. And when you talked about that early, Dave, about the divisions, we'll go away from that for a second, but you can't comment on it. But separation Saturday in the Sun Belt, Dave. UL Monroe at Marshall, Georgia Southern at South Alabama. And then Tuesday night, I think Old Dominion moved to 3 or 4-1 in the conference. Who do you see playing in this Sun Belt championship going forward?
Well, it was interesting that some folks on Twitter are posting, is it possible, ? Could it be the Monarchs of Old Dominion and the Warhawks of Louisiana Monroe playing for the Sun Belt Championship? I don't know. Louisiana Lafayette pulled out a nice win on the road at San Marcos, beating Texas State. Some of the schools, a couple of schools in particular that were the preseason favorites, like Texas State, I think they're a game under 500 now in conference play. Obviously, Troy won the league a year ago, had a coaching situation. Their former head coach is at Tulane. They lost a number of players. They're, I think, 1-7. So they're out of the picture. But as you mentioned, Old Dominion has surprised everybody. We saw them a few weeks ago at Center Park Stadium in Atlanta. They're really good. They beat Georgia State on their trip down south here to Atlanta. For a while, it looked like Georgia Southern might be making a little bit of a run, but then Old Dominion handled them easily up in Norfolk a week and a half ago. So, right now it looks like, it's going to be one of the Louisianas in the West, unless Texas State is able to put together a late run. And Georgia State plays at Texas State the next to final end of the regular season. But, right now, in Coastal Carolina is another school that Georgia State will finish up the season with. I don't have their record right in front of me, but I have a feeling that they might make things interesting in the Sun Belt East. But right now, Old Dominion is the school that everyone seems to be talking about in the East, and the Louisianas, Lafayette and Monroe over in the West. But how cool would that be if it was Louisiana, Monroe, and Old Dominion?
Yeah, it'd be awesome for the conference and for college football. And it just goes back to our conversations about the transfer portal and the NIL and the trickle-down effect. And you're starting to see guys that would be key depth pieces at the Power 5 come down to the G5, whatever we're calling it, G4. But it's just the trickle-down effect is real, and you're starting to see a little bit less depth and what's the word? Hogging the talent, stacking the teams at the top, and it's coming down, and it's more exciting for college football. And realistically, Sun Belt's got a shot at the college football playoffs. If things can happen, Boise State drops a game or two, and anything is possible with this 12-team playoff, as we've been wanting for a couple of years now. So, Dave, your comments on that and just the competitiveness of the Sun Belt this season.
Well, the Sun Belt is pretty much competitive every year. It's just a matter of who the players are, and I put players in quotation marks. Last year, again, it was the Troy Trojans. It was Appalachian State. Appy, when we went up the mountain last weekend, they had the same record that Georgia State did. They were 2-4 and 0-3. Now they're 3-4 and 1-3. I don't see them making a run to the top of the Sun Belt Conference Eastern Division. I could be wrong, but I just don't see that. Not this year anyway. So it could be Old Dominion's year to make a little bit of noise in the Sun Belt Conference. Louisiana Monroe is the surprise because, that is a school with a brand new head coach and a school that has been perennial in and around last place in the Sun Belt West. So I think those from the outside looking in are kind of pulling for UL Monroe. I mean, I do a little bit because their athletic director is a friend of mine. He used to be at Georgia State back in the day. So it's great to see them have some success. Obviously, as long as it's not against Georgia State. But, how awesome would that be if the Sun Belt somehow earned that 12th spot in the college football playoff? I mean, that would further legitimize the level and the quality of the football that the Sun Belt plays. I think the rest of college football knows that, and the reason being, when you look at the non-conference wins that Sun Belt schools have able to pull off against Power 4 conferences. Go back to last year with Marshall winning on the road at Notre Dame, and Appalachian State that won at Texas A&M, Georgia Southern winning at Nebraska. I'll say Georgia State and Vanderbilt this year because, as I said on the last ATL Sports podcast we did, everything being relative percentage-wise, NIL and the transfer portal has been a little bit more of an equalization factor in college football. Now that there's money to be spent and you can spend it, as crazy as that sounds for those folks that have followed college athletics all these years, now that there's NIL money available to pay student athletes, Vanderbilt is now going to be in a situation where it can be in the running recruiting-wise for players that it was not able to be in the running for in the past. I get Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt. It's the best academic institution in the SEC. But for all those kids that don't get recruited by Georgia or Alabama or Tennessee or a Florida or whatever. Vanderbilt, if you're a college football player looking to transfer or a really good high school player, Vanderbilt has NIL money. They're in Nashville. Who doesn't want to be in Nashville? Great place to hang out. But above and beyond all that, they too are in the Southeastern Conference. And so if you want to play SEC level football, but you're not getting recruited by some of the others, and you are a player that could be in the running for NIL money, Vanderbilt, by a percentage of improvement, I think puts itself in a position where they're not. I don't think they're going to be in the running for an SEC championship every year, but I don't think they're going to be the doormat that they have been in the SEC for all of these years.
Agreed 100% there. You mentioned everything, the city, the conference, and it's Vanderbilt. They got plenty of money. They'll find a way to get it to the players. Dave, we'll have to go back and revisit this loss one more time. Pass interference call late, negated a Panthers interception. Your comments on the one possession loss to App State, and we'll get into that now.
Well, there were some positives, and there were obviously some negatives. That one play, one play never really decides a football game, most of the time, unless it's a Hail Mary like we saw in the National Football League with the Redskins. And who are they playing? Who are the Redskins playing?
The Bears.
The Bears. Right, exactly. I was watching that. I forgot. I couldn't remember that it was Chicago, but normally one play does not decide a football game unless it's something like that. In recording my pregame interview with our head coach, Dale McGee, earlier this week, he pointed out that while we did run the ball better, we did not get nearly enough, if any, pressure on Appalachian State quarterback Joey Aguilar. He had more than enough time. From a defensive standpoint, wide receivers were wide open throughout the middle of the field, in between the hashes. But right up there with that, Georgia State was 1 of 8 on third down conversion opportunities. And if you can't keep your offense on the field, and you've got way too many 3 and outs, and you're keeping your defense on the field, when you're 1 of 8 on third down opportunities, it's going to be hard to win a football game. And I thought the tone was set early. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, listen to it, or read about it. Georgia State won the coin toss and elected to receive right out of the gate. Well, it's a 3 and out. James Allen, our punter, comes on to punt the football. Block punt. Ball rolls out the back of the end zone. Safety. Thank goodness they didn't recover it for a touchdown, but a safety. And I was talking to somebody on campus earlier this week. It's interesting how that 2 points can just kind of nag at you the entire game. It was a nagging 2 points, but it set the tone early. And again, it didn't decide the game, but even from where I sat in the visiting radio booth, those dadgum 2 points bothered me the entire afternoon. It just did.
And simple things like that are momentum in college football is huge, and it snowballs. And yeah, those 2 points of safety, something so simple, can cause a chain reaction. You're listening
the
to
quarterback. The switch at quarterback has been successful so far. Zach Gibson, the transfer from Georgia Tech, came on early in the Marshall game a couple of weeks ago. Right now, he's 68% passing the football. He's thrown 4 touchdowns, a little over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and knock on wood that it doesn't change up at UConn. He has not been intercepted one time yet. And the one aspect of his game that maybe gives him a little bit of an advantage over Christian is just his ability when needed. Neither one of them are great runners, but Zach can use his legs, I think, maybe a little better than Christian can when it comes to running an offense. And the cool thing is that Coach McGee I forget when it might have been late third, fourth quarter. Georgia State's got the ball on the App State 4-yard line. He brings in Kyle Lowe, a transfer quarterback from Middle Tennessee State University up in Murfreesboro. I think, had only appeared in one series or taken one snap so far this season. Anyway, Kyle Lowe comes in, takes the snap and runs in from 4 yards out to score his first collegiate touchdown. So that was pretty cool. And, even though he doesn't play a lot, Kyle probably out of the three is the best at using his legs with regards to being more of a running quarterback. Both Gibson and Vay are much more pro style, stay in the pocket, only run if you have to type quarterbacks. So that was pretty good to see. Georgia State ran the ball, not as well as they ran it at Marshall, but still pretty good. I think it was just under 200 yards. But Freddie Brock and C.J. Beasley both ran well. Michael Dukes being used. Dukes is a running back, but they use him a lot on screen passes. And then his ability to get yards after the catch, have really been helpful. And Ted Hurst, our top wide receiver, caught a touchdown pass, his 6th of the season. And hopefully he and Dorian Fleming are going to get a few more targets when we go up against UConn. UConn in football is independent. They're interesting because they were in the American Athletic Conference. They made the decision as a university to leave the American Athletic and return to the Big East. It's interesting to see a school make a decision that's not based on football. That decision was based on, at the moment, men's and women's basketball. Everybody else is moving conferences. All those moves, 99.9% of them are based on their football program. So UConn is 5-3. They beat Rice last weekend, and really kind of a close game, 17-10. Rice ended up firing their head coach, earlier this week. But the number that stuck out about UConn against Rice is they held them to a total of 178 yards on offense. 88 of those yards were passing yards. It's hard to win a ball game, like I said, if you're 1-8 on third downs. It's hard to win a football game if your offense is only churning out 178 yards. And again, it was a one touchdown game, 17-10. Imagine if Rice had been able to keep their offense on the field a little longer. So hopefully our offense will shine a little brighter than Rice, and we can get out of East Hartford with a W and end this 4-game losing skid.
Yeah, you took my next question and went into it. I was just going to say, how do the Panthers move the ball on a pretty good Huskies defense? And yeah, you gotta play complementary football. I know the cliches are true in games like these, but when you're outmatched statistically, and you just got to get in the trenches, move the ball a little bit, and you mentioned it. You got to get better on third downs if you're Georgia State to win this game on Saturday. Against a well-coached team and former Falcons head coach Jim Mora Jr. So you got a really well-coached team. And just a quick comment or two about the game Saturday, and then close it out with how we can catch your call. Or I should say Friday. Excuse me.
Yeah, Friday night. Remember, and I'm not a big proponent. I understand now television is running this whole thing. I mean, college football, it's really just a big Monday through Saturday TV show. That's really what they are. But boundaries are being stepped over now. Friday nights used to be sacred for high school football. Saturdays were for college, and Sundays were for the National Football League. Television could care less about any of that. And now you're getting to the point where you got games on Tuesday, you got games on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, it's literally every day of the week. It won't be long before you're going to be sitting there turning the dials in your TV, and right after you hit Monday Night Football, there's going to be another college game on. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. But no, you're right about that. Georgia State averaging 21 points a game, but defensively allowing 30. That second number has got to come down. You're putting pressure on your offense if they've got to score on average 30 or more points per ball game. You're right about third downs. Georgia State 36% on third down opportunities. That number's got to get a little bit better. Like I said, if we're better on third down opportunities at Appalachian State, maybe we end up coming back and winning that football game. Who knows? But it's hard when your offense is not on the field. And then the other thing that stuck out about UConn, and this harkens back to Vanderbilt, because I remember asking Coach McGee about this in the pregame prior to Vandy. Vandy recruits and has players who are all 6'4" to 6'7". They're all over 300 pounds on both the offensive and defensive line. And Sunbelt schools, most of them do not feature offensive and defensive lines like that. And when they talk about games being won and lost in the trenches, that's what worried me about Vanderbilt, is that they were so much bigger than we were along the offensive and defensive line. And Coach McGee told me earlier this week, UConn, and I've been working on my sheets, but UConn might be the second biggest offensive and defensive lines we've seen this season. So we'll see how we're able to play against a larger opponent in the trenches. And if we can nullify that with the use of our speed and hopefully our skill. But like I said, they're 5-3. Their losses have been to Maryland out of the Big Ten, Duke, and Wake Forest. So, I don't want to say they're unproven at this point, but I think definitely, made improvements from what they were a year ago, which they struggled a year ago. Like I said, Georgia State beat them in Atlanta, but to be 5-3 right now, coming off a win over the Rice Owls, and they're looking at us thinking this is a team that's lost 4 in a row, and we're going to be 6-3 by the time we get to Friday night, Saturday morning. That's what they're thinking right now. Georgia State's going to have to do like what we've been talking about, better on third down, run the football, provide as much balance in order to get out of there with a W.
Yeah, well, as much as other coaches, first-year coaches, more or less started on third base, Coach McGee really, to me, kind of started behind the proverbial 8 ball this year. And I predict that next year he should be above 500 and possibly within 4 years competing for like a regular season title there. So I feel like that's the way it should happen anyway.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because in his office earlier this week, when we're done recording and I've got a few minutes just to chit chat, and I'm not going to obviously say everything that we talk about, but I did say to him, honestly, and I said I would never say this on the radio. Yeah. I'm saying it on the ATL Prime Sports podcast. I said, to be honest with you, based on what you just said, Wayne, I was really looking at year 3.
Okay.
To make a run at the Sun Belt Conference Eastern Division and Championship. In other words, give Coach McGee and his staff 2 solid cycles of recruiting.
Right.
Because they were recruiting on the run when they first got
exactly.
here because of the timing of Coach Elliott's leaving to go back to South Carolina. They were literally recruiting on the run, but give this Georgia State staff 2 solid recruiting cycles, and the Sun Belt East could be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And we all know Del McGee was one of Kirby Smart's favorite recruiters. I mean, he was boots on the ground in Georgia. He was the Kirby Smart Southeast guy, so Del McGee will be able to get talent there, and I think Georgia State will get on the right track. He's got to get this year under his belt, get the experience for these players, and get to the transfer portal for guys you need, and that full recruiting class is huge. When you have that full year, you get the early signing periods, and you get to be put on national television like you are Friday night. It should help out the Panthers. Well, Dave, give our listeners a quick recap of how they can catch your call Friday evening in East Hartford, Connecticut.
Always remember, JJ, on national television, but on that radio network, well.
Yeah.
That's right. Us radio guys, I should remember that, but I'm transitioning to the other side of things, and I'm not used to it yet.
Well, radio-wise, we'll be on our 50,000-watt flagship, 88.5 FM, WRAS in Atlanta. Also, WRAS.org if you're listening online. lowcountryradio.com if you're listening online. They've got a nice online station out of Savannah, Georgia. And then WGTJ, 97.5 FM out of Gainesville, Georgia. So, looking forward to it, getting up to Connecticut on Thursday night, playing Friday night, and hopefully we get out of there with a win. And we don't take a 5-game losing skid into the 4th game of this 4-game road swing gauntlet, which next week it will be on the road to Harrisonburg, Virginia to take on James Madison, which, by the way, real quick, going back to our earlier conversation, James Madison got off to a quick start, but they have hit a couple of bumps in the road as well in the Sun Belt East. So that's why things are looking as interesting as they are. And there's no clear dominant front runner as there was last year with James Madison. And let me just add one more thing, talking national college football. How about Kurt Signetti leaving JMU, going to Indiana, and they're 7-0
for the first time in 45 or 50 years.
Been a while.
It's unbelievable. If he's not coach of the year, the thing is rigged.
Normally this time of the year, and couldn't tell you the last time I was in Bloomington. I've never done a game at IU because Georgia State's never played there. But normally this time of the year, they are waist deep talking college basketball. How crazy is it that they're talking college football right before November in Bloomington and across the state of Indiana, when it's high school basketball and college basketball that gets all the headlines under normal circumstances?
It's great what football can do to revitalize the student base, isn't it? I mean, they're selling out football games. It's exciting to see a new team at the top of the Big Ten as a college football fan in general. So I'm loving this train, and I know the Sun Belt people like yourself are kind of saying that's kind of a so. But Dave, we'll be catching your call Friday evening. Thanks for coming on, listeners. You can catch Dave on Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, at GA State Voice. Dave, as always, thanks for coming on.
All right. And always enjoy it, guys. Hopefully we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Absolutely. Go Panthers.
All right. We'll see you.
Dave Cohen, again, voice of the Georgia State Panthers football, baseball, and basketball, which is about to tip off just in a couple days. Dave's a busy, busy man. Again, you can find him on X at GA State Voice. From Dave Cohen to the Pick Six. Wayne,
I wanted to make a comment. We had talked about basketball in that last segment and Indiana, and they kind of reminded me that Memphis has a new assistant coach now in Mike Davis, who I believe he was the first coach after Bobby Knight up there in Indiana, and he's floated around a couple other places, but he's here in Memphis now.
Yeah, great assistant head coach. Another good get by Penny Hardaway. Absolutely. Good comment, Wayne. Let's go from, again, college football and the Dave Cohen report to our Pick Six. Wayne, you and Larry are tied at top 32, 27, and 1.
Yeah. Can you tell me which
for yourself last week and 1 and 5 for Larry?
Can you tell me which two games I won, because I thought I only won that Atlanta game?
No, so last week, let's go to the notes here. That's going to be the 23rd. So you won the Vandy Texas game.
Oh, okay. I must have fell backwards into that one.
You took Vandy and the Falcons.
Okay, and so the Vandy game was close enough. Or is that what it was?
Yep. Yeah. They covered this point spread.
Okay.
They lost by 3. Texas A&M was 16 or 18.5 point favorites. So it was a pretty big spread.
All right. Well, that spread worked out way better than the other spread that I failed on.
So we had 2 and 4 last week, 1 and 5 for Larry, but you're both tied at the top with 32 wins, 27 losses, and that one dadgum push for us all. Let's see. Todd is coming up the rear at 28, 31 and 1 after a 4 and 2 last week. I also went 4 and 2, gaining a game on you guys, a couple games on you guys. I'm only 1 below 500 after a terrible start. 29, 30 and 1. Let's kick off the Pick Six, where we preview 6 football games, college and pro, for the upcoming week, which we feel are the best games. Wednesday's spreads are from ESPNBet.com. Our first game, number 4 Ohio State, 6-1 at number 3 Penn State, 7-0. Ohio State comes in as a road 3.5 point favorite. Over under in this one's 45 and a hook. Saturday, high noon, Eastern Standard Time on the old ABC. Both of these teams play really good defense, Wayne. Ohio State is only allowing 254.4 yards per game. Penn State allowing just a little bit more, over 267 yards per game. So both defense, top 5 in that aspect. So 2 really good defenses, pretty good offenses on both sides as well. Ohio State's defense, though, a little bit better at limiting explosive plays. They're 3rd in college football in that category, only allowing 19 plays at 20 yards or more. That's why I like the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ryan Day's got a ton of pressure on him. He's already dropped the Oregon game. They got one of the best rosters in college football. I think they'll show that Saturday afternoon. And look, it really comes down to this for me. Penn State's 3-10 in their last 13 games versus ranked opponents. I don't like that stat. I love a home underdog, but not when it's playing Ohio State. Give me the Buckeyes to cover those 3.5 points. Wayne, what say you?
Yeah, I kind of have to go with Penn State on this one too, and the points, just because I feel like they're a stronger team and they've got momentum of being undefeated.
Yeah, you're right about the momentum thing, Wayne. They're due to win one of these games. That's one of my philosophies. When a team has lost a bunch of games in a row, they're due to win a game or two. So this one kind of scares me. I like your Penn State pick. Penn State and the points for Larry as well. Todd and I both went with the Buckeyes to cover. Our second game of the evening, Florida, Georgia, the old world's largest outdoor cocktail party game. The Gators, winners of 3 of their last 4, come in at 4-3 versus the number 2 Georgia Bulldogs, who come into the game 6-1. Georgia's a 16.5-point favorite. The over-under in that game is 52.5. Saturday, 3:30 p.m. on ABC. I really shouldn't have to say the time of that game because it's literally going to start at 3:30 for probably the rest of the time. And, one of my favorite games of the year, my second favorite game, the Deep South's oldest rivalry is definitely number 1. Now, this is number 2. Both teams come in rested and ready after bye weeks. Wayne, what you got?
Well, that is an awful lot of points, but I think Georgia's the way to go on this one.
I like your pick, Wayne. Sometimes Vegas tries to get you to bet.
Yeah, but
just with that point spread.
I just don't see Florida being able to bounce back quite yet.
I just don't think Florida has the Jimmies and Joes just yet. I think they need one more year under Napier. I hope he gets it, but if he loses this game pretty big, he may not get to see the end of the year. I like the Dogs to cover as well, Wayne. Larry and Todd. Actually, wow, I just misread that. Todd is taking Florida in the points in this one. Larry, yourself, and me are all going Georgia to cover. And here's the biggest thing for me. Georgia gets Tate Ratledge back after missing the last 4 games. He's been recovering from tightrope surgery. That should help the former Gator Trevor Etienne and that running game get going for the Dogs. Once that running game gets going, the explosive plays come. The passing attack of Georgia will come into play after that. Beck and UGA get it going. They average just under 300 yards in that category a game. One of the top passing attacks in the offense. I think they take the top off later. Late in the game, I think it's about a 10-point game going into the fourth quarter. I think Georgia has a big defensive play, and Carson Beck capitalizes on a short field, making it about a 17-point game. But I do think it will be more competitive than the experts think for most of the game. That's our second game. Again, Georgia for Wayne, Georgia for Larry, Georgia for me. Todd's taking the Gators and the points. Third game of the week, the undefeated Pittsburgh Panthers. 7-0 travel to SMU to take on the Southern Methodist Mustangs at 7-1 and the 20th team in the country. SMU minus 7.5 home favorites. Over-under in this one's 58, 8 p.m. on the ACC network. Still crazy that this is an ACC battle. Both teams are similar stat-wise. Both top 15 offenses. Pitt is 11th, averaging just over 40 points a game. SMU 15th, averaging just over 39 points a game. SMU's quarterback, Kevin Jennings, is questionable going into the game. He took a hit last week, lower leg injury. He did come back in and finish the game out, but he might have to turn to preseason starter Preston Stone. And Coach Lashley's offense did not look as good under Stone. So give me the Pitt Panthers in those points. I think SMU might win this game, but it might just be by a touchdown. and that hook would save my keister. I'm going the Pitt Panthers in the points. Friend of the show, David Finoli, would be extremely happy. Wayne, what say you?
Yeah, I'm going with Pittsburgh in the points on this one as well. Again, the momentum of an undefeated season, I think, will propel them to beat SMU at SMU.
And sometimes that's it. Momentum is a key part of football. It's just about when you play some teams. But they are going to Dallas to take on SMU. It will be a tough ACC battle, but again, I like Pitt in the points. Wayne, Pitt the points. Larry's going SMU to cover. Todd's going SMU to cover. So we're all over the place here. That concludes our college games. The fourth game of the week. It's the Cowboys, 3-4, traveling right here to Atlanta, Georgia, to take on them 5-3, first place in the NFC South, Atlanta Falcons. They're 2.5-point home favorites. Over-unders 52 and a hook. Sunday, 1 p.m. on Fox. The Cowboys are just not good on either side of the ball at the moment. 31st in scoring defense, Wayne, allowing over 28 points a game. And on offense, they rank just 22nd, scoring just a little over 21 points a game. Falcons started to win some games at home. Won 2 out of their last 3 at home. They lost to Seattle in their last home game. I think they get back on the right side of the ship and get a home W against those Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott and company. You give me the Falcons to cover at home. Wayne, are you taking your boys?
Well, I'm definitely taking the Falcons, but this is going to be an interesting game for me personally because my dad and my stepmom are going to be visiting this coming weekend, and he is a lifetime Cowboys fan, from back in the 60s even. But, it'll be a lot of fun watching it with him and hollering at each other back and forth. But, yeah, I'm definitely picking the Falcons because they're playing like a team instead of a bunch of individuals. What I feel like Cowboys are still playing like a bunch of individuals.
No, I like that comment, Wayne. We all saw Trayvon Diggs after the game, his comments to a reporter. That franchise just seems out of whack right now, Wayne. That's a very good comment. I like Atlanta to cover, as do all of us. Clean sweep of the Atlanta Falcons to cover at home. Our fifth game of the night, it is a true one. You know I love these listeners. If you listen to the show, it's a true game of the week. 1 p.m. on Fox. And that's not game of the W-E-E-K, folks. It's game of the W-E-A-K. It's the Patriots at 2-6 at the Tennessee Titans, who come in at 1-6. Tennessee's 3.5-point home favorites. Over under this one is a whopping 37.5. Again, a 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff on Fox. Both of these teams are bottom of the barrel in the NFL in terms of points per game on offense. 15.5 for New England, 17.1 points per game for Tennessee. I'm going to go with the home team and the better offense because I got nothing else for you. I think Calvin Ridley could play and make a difference in this ball game because the Patriots' defense is just pretty atrocious. I'm taking the home team, Titans, to get their second win of the year. Cover. They win by, we'll say a touchdown. Give me the Titans at home. Wayne, what say you?
No, I'm completely opposite of you on this. I think the Patriots are actually in the process of putting something together now, whereas the Titans are in the process of falling apart. And I'm totally basing my pick for the Patriots and the points on last week when the Titans played the Lions and fell apart.
Did I lose you there?
Nope. No, could you not hear me?
No, I think you went out on that last little comment. Say it one more time.
No, it's just the fact that the Titans played so horrible against the Lions. I just can't pick them this week.
There you go. That's exactly what cut out. So I'm taking the Patriots. You're taking the Patriots. Larry's taking the Patriots. Todd's taking the Patriots. I'm the only one taking the home team. Titans cover. Sixth and final game of the weekend, probably the best in terms of record-wise and spread. Detroit's 3-point road favorites as they travel to Green Bay and take on the 6-2 back as an NFC North battle. Again, Lions 6-1 at Packers 6-2. Detroit 3-point favorites. Over under in this one's 48 and a hook. 4:25 p.m. game of the week on Fox. Jordan Love a little banged up. MRI didn't reveal any structural damage or really bad damage. They think there's a realistic shot that Jordan Love could play. They were able to get the win with Malik Willis last week, but I think Jaden Reed, Watson, Kraft, Josh Jacobs is a little banged up, but I do expect Josh Jacobs to give it a go. I think this running game of the Packers will wear down the Lions without Aiden Hutchinson, and their Pascal, their other defensive end, kind of banged up a little bit too. I'm leaning with the home underdog because I like these situations. I like home underdogs. Give me the Packers and those points. I think Detroit might win this game, but by a single point. Both quarterbacks, again, a little banged up. Jared Goff is technically questionable, but he's expected to play. So two banged up quarterbacks going against each other. I like the home team. Give me the Packers and the points. Wayne, what say you?
I feel like I'm opposite on this one for you, too, because I'm picking the Lions to come in there and be motivated to beat the Packers at home and continue their, again, momentum moving forward. And, I've never really been much of a Packers fan, so it's easy for me to pick against them.
Well, I got Jordan Love in one of my fantasy leagues. I got Jaden Reed in the other. I got Kraft, the tight end. So I'm heavily involved in both my fantasy leagues with the Green Bay offense. Give me the Packers. Give me the points. Everybody else is against me. Larry, Todd, they're both taking arguably the best team in the NFL right now, the Lions, to cover. That finishes up our pick six. Let's get to our final thoughts real quick. I'll tee this one off. The Georgia-Florida game will be played in Atlanta and Tampa for the 2026 and 2027 seasons while Everbank Stadium gets remodeled. Look, these schools should have played the home and home. This game has been played in Jacksonville every single year since 1933, minus the 94 and 95 seasons, for similar reasons, renovations to Everbank Stadium. I want to see this game back at a home and home field one more time before it goes back to we expect goes back to Jacksonville for eternity in 2028. Come on, guys. Let's play between the hedges and in the swamp this game just one time. Wayne, what say you? What's your final thought?
Well, speaking of football, Memphis travels to San Antonio to play the UTSA Roadrunners this weekend, and they are not a team to be overlooked. They usually do pretty well in our conference, but at this point in the overall scheme of things, I don't know that the American Conference is going to have anybody that's going to be able to get in that 12, so Memphis should really be focused on playing for a really decent bowl game at this point.
There you go, and anything can happen. Some teams drop, but it does look like Boise State's got the edge in that 12-team playoff right now, especially with the remaining schedule they have. UNLV's already out the way. They had a close loss to Oregon, so I might tend to agree with you. Our Memphis prediction is looking a little slim, Wayne, a little slim. That was my bold prediction.
Yeah.
Another bold prediction of Missouri and the SEC titles looking slimmer and slimmer by every single snap played by the Missouri Tigers. Well, folks, that wraps it up for Wayne in Memphis, for myself, JJ Jurjevich, right here in Lilburn, Georgia. If you like the content, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It's free. Hit the notification button so you know when we get the latest content. Keep us going. We enjoy doing this. Again, Wayne in Memphis, I'm JJ right here in Atlanta. We'll see you next week. For Todd and Larry, get you one, everybody. Have a good night.